Hi, this is Karen Hamilton with Sacred 7 Healing. I hope everyone's doing well today. I wanted to talk today about fear and where our core fears come from. When we are having issues in our lives that are coming up suddenly and we feel taken off guard, or there's different environmental factors happening in our lives, then we can go into a quick moment of instantaneous fear because we don't fully understand the process of what's happening. And when we don't understand the process, sometimes our fear within ourselves about what is going to happen, we start creating a storyline behind, oh, how that's going to affect me and what is that going to mean for me, when in fact, there is nothing to be afraid of. You know, as the world right now, as we're going through different changes and there seems to be a lot of chaos, I know that I have a lot of clients that are in a very powerful fear-based energy at this time. And I just wanted to say that sometimes our fears actually come from cellular memory. Could be memory of experiences we've had in the past. It could be cellular memory experience of something that happened as a child where you felt no control over a situation. The one thing I can say is, as factors seem to be out of your control, the best thing you can do is look at what you can control. And one of the things you can control is your reaction to what's happening by focusing inward and asking yourself, when I'm in a difficult situation, what do I normally do? And if I normally just panic and freak out, it's because I am not connected to my emotional body. There's a disconnect. So sometimes when we go into fear, we actually will disconnect from our emotional, natural energy that would help to regulate us, to help to harmonize us, and then work with both sides of the brain and the frontal lobe of the brain. And if you don't understand, some people have never learned that, or some people are not good at emotionally balancing themselves. So when we're in a world right now where it's very chaotic, it's important to seriously look at what ways I can balance myself. I can't control the outside variables and factors, but I can control what's happening in my own mental head and in my heart. And because nobody can take control over that. That is your control. That's part of your free will, is how you're willing to receive things that are happening or perceive things that are happening outside. So one of the things that I say to my clients is, stop watching TV, try to go for walks, try to do things that are positive for yourself. Maybe your house needs to be re-cleaned. Maybe you need to do some spring cleaning right now, and look at ways that you can pull yourself out of the fear and feel a sense of control, and help to regulate your emotional body. Because if you have children, it's very important that you don't go into a panic and start freaking out, because you can create energy that doesn't need to exist. There's no point in creating something that you really don't want to receive or have mirrored back to you through the kids all of a sudden panicking and they're acting up and there's a big upset in the family. It all comes from you and your energy, because you're the primary source within the family, whether you're, a husband and wife, or a married couple, doesn't even matter, if you're both genders or whatever, it doesn't really matter. But it's important how you process your emotional experience as we're going through this time, by staying in the upright energy position, realizing through, and this is very important, faith. Faith is a very critical factor to how we go through a state of chaos when it's outside of our control. Having faith with yourself, not with everybody else, but with you, trusting you that you will know exactly what you need to do at any given moment in time. and that there is no real wrong or right choices, that you will be able to assess every situation as it comes up and be able to make a healthy decision because you've regulated your body, you're receiving information, and you're not focusing on what's being told to you, which is a narrative of control. And I do think that, if you look at television, television is a form of programming you. That's all it's doing. I mean, that's why they call it programs, because it's an agenda. They want to program you to believe a certain thing. It's their narrative, and this is how they've controlled us for, ever since they, had the television. Before that, it was the radio. There's always been a method that they've used to control the human consciousness and our emotional bodies. They like to, and they being the powers that be, the hidden hand, they like to feed off of our fear and our energy around that fear. So I just want you to take that moment and say, look, it appears like it's chaotic, but if you go for a walk, people are very controlled. People are not freaking out. They're peaceful. As a matter of fact, I've discovered better relationship with my husband just by going for walks and spending that time together. I've also discovered that there's many people that are going for walks, and some of them, even today was talking to a couple that I've never met that live in my neighborhood but nowhere near me really, but realized we had so much in common. This is a time, instead of going into fear, this is a time for people to reconnect with people. They're saying stay apart, but you can social distance and still be able to communicate to each other, because people are realizing now we do need each other. You can't live without each other. You do need to have connections, because that's what keeps us mentally stable. And it's important to communicate to each other so that we can get a different perspective. When we're just looking at our own perspective, sometimes we can be, create an illusion that's really not quite correct. So it's good to get feedback from others. So that's another way of controlling your emotional body, is by listening to other people when they're trying to communicate something to you. And that's a very powerful tool on many scales and levels. And so fear is really the opposite of hate, or they're tied together. So we go into fear, and then fear starts building this, energy around it. And then that energy gets bigger and bigger. And then we start projecting hatred towards groups or other people, that they're causing the problem. And this is what it is. This is, again, as I said, a time to go inward, go into the heart space, test everything that you're receiving with your heart, and choose what makes sense for you. There is no wrong or right. They've tried to pull us to the left or the right and make these extremes of disconnect, when in fact, we are all wanting the same thing, just maybe how we see the picture might be slightly different. It doesn't mean it's wrong or right. It just means at the end of the day, don't we all just want our families to be healthy and happy and prosperous and living in a way that sustains your children, that your children have a future? Those are the things you need to focus on, not listening to the dramatic narrative that's being fed to you day in and day out, programming you into an energy to hate one person that's a political person or another person that's a political person. Instead, try to look at the bigger picture. We all want to live in harmony. We all want to live in peace. There, these different agendas that are out there, where we need to have a parade for this and we need to do this and we've got, I think we've all come to a place that we're very loving and accepting of many differences. I don't think that there may be the small percentage of population of the world that really carries a deep-seated hatred. And that deep-seated hatred really stemmed from fear. So again, at this time, don't create more fear, which eventually leads to hatred, which leads to a warring kind of mindset and not living peacefully and joyfully in your heart. It can cause you to have heart problems. It can cause extra stress. You know, money, the system of money is likely going to change. And I can say that from things that I've received. And I am not an economic expert, but I can say, as all of you know that probably are watching this video, everybody is bankrupt in the world. Everybody's got huge amounts of debt. There's a few people maybe not, but most people have debt. And it's come to a place and a time in the world where it needs to change. There needs to be a level of debt forgiveness now. And we need to all move forward from that experience of learning. And again, going inward. Instead of going into fear, think about what things do you want. So if there is a debt forgiveness, if we do go through this process of a one-time jubilee for the world where everybody gets their debts forgiven, how are we going to come together as a people, as a human race? There is no black, there is no white, there is no yellow, there's no red, purple, blue, whatever color you are, doesn't matter. It's about the human race. What do we want to identify with as a collective? Is it to be warring and hatred and disrupting our children's lives, and everybody's in panic, and it's, you know, your life is turned upside down and people are having to leave their homes? Or do we want to live in peace and sustainability and have abundance? And there's no reason why you can't have wealth. There's no reason why you can't achieve. There's no reason you can't have these things. But at what cost? So there's players out there that have played a game, you know, where they wanted to create this chaos and they wanted to create a problem because they are fear-based. And out of their fear, they have created this massive creation of pandemic. And in reality, I'm not saying that it isn't a terrible sickness and that people aren't getting sick. But if you look at the statistics and start looking at it from a logical perspective, instead of getting emotional and panicky, what's the logic? And honestly, in the United States and Canada, probably more people die of car accidents, more people are dying of cancer, more people are dying of diabetes, more people are dying of old age or disease, or, you know, this pandemic in the bigger scheme of things is actually just really a pinprick of what really goes on. But could we take this experience and make choices about what we're willing to accept for our health? Could we look at this experience from a positive perspective of maybe this is the perfect time to analyze, why are we getting sick? Why are we having these health crises? Why is there all these heart conditions? Why is all this stuff happening? This is the part that you need to look at. So instead of going into fear, maybe look deeper. Ask questions. Find out for yourself, what is the truth? Instead of listening to what they're programming into your mind, because we are receivers, we can very easily be programmed. Don't allow that to happen to yourself. Ask yourself, why is this happening at this time? And why are people getting sick? And why are we having to vaccinate? You know, is that necessary? And is there things being put into vaccines that's been brought up and people say, oh, it's conspiracy, but is it? Maybe this is the time before they start mass vaccinating the whole population over this small little, you know, it's a major disease, but How major is it? That's the question. I'm not trying to say I'm a doctor. I'm not trying to say this people aren't dying. I'm asking you to think about, is this making sense? All of it, everything. Is it an illusion? Is it a real thing? What is going on? And so the other part of it is taking a look at, there seems to be, in my mind, multiple layers happening at this time. One is the world's bankrupt, and now you're hearing about all these funds coming out and countries now bringing out money. Could that be prosperity funds? The IMF just announced that they are going to forgive debt in a certain number of countries. Could it be that that's going to be a pattern, that they're starting out with maybe countries that are maybe in a worse situation of have-nots, where they have way more people that are unemployed or dying or suffering? Maybe they need a full debt forgiveness first. Maybe it'll be a gradual process. I do believe that's what's coming. But what you need to ask yourself is, what will I do with that opportunity if it comes up, that there is a debt forgiveness? I need to change the way I see myself within the world and what's important to me. This is your time to readjust your thinking. So instead of going into fear, have faith. Have faith. Have faith in your ability to handle all the things, and maybe there's changes that are coming. Maybe the way the world has run is broken, and maybe that needs to be fixed and looked at differently. Maybe there will be groups that come together to try to figure that out. Councils that'll form groups of people that are experts in all their different fields to change the world for the better. Think of it as potentially this could be a trigger point for one of the most positive and amazing things that could ever happen to humanity. Now, it could go in another direction because there are those that would like it to, but I think there's enough of us that are sick of the wars, sick of being polluted with unhealthy foods, polluted with mind control on TV, polluted with a narrative to control us. I think there's many of us that have woken up. And I ask you, instead of going into fear at this time, to take the time to start looking deeper as to what might actually be happening in this world. Because you know, no different than me, even if you've watched TV and aren't paying much attention, the world has slowed down now. You have the time to take a closer look, right? You have the time to look at the truth. Not what you're told, but the real truth. And maybe once you see the truth, you can see the greater picture of what's actually going on. And then you won't go into fear. There is a very big picture playing out right now. There are many things that are happening behind the scenes for the betterment of humanity. And to keep people from panicking, maybe they've had to lock down areas and make it a little bit easier for them to do some of the things they need to do. So I'm only telling you things that I've received. On an energy perspective, I'm telling you that I feel that we're not moving in a negative direction. We are actually moving in one of the most positive, freeing of humanity. This is what's happening. And we've never, in our lifetime, in my lifetime since I was born, I've never been free, really. I've never been a free person. I've watched TV, I've been programmed. I've listened to music that's telling me a narrative. I've, school telling me how to think and feel. This is our time to break the program, to break free of, like the movie Matrix, to break out of the Matrix and to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because it's getting brighter and brighter. And the brighter it gets, the closer we get to the truth. And when we see the light, and when we see the truth will set us free. And the ending of a story of many generations of being very much controlled might be painful for many people. And so maybe taking time to look into it now will ease the pain of some of the things that might come up. The things that you believed and bought into, the illusions that you had, that you bought into, may not actually be the truth. And again, the truth will set you free. What choices do you want to make for your future? And that's what I want people to think about. So have faith that you will be able to handle whatever it is, because there are people that may need you to be a sounding board at this time as we go through a process of awakening. And as the public awakens too, countries are broke. There is no money. The money was fake. There was no backing to it. We've got to change the whole system, and maybe we're now going to be on a different type of system. And we can choose how we're going to react to that. We do have control over that. And sometimes things that have been put into us in a narrative for generations, whether it be religion, whether it be again, the money system, whether it be doctors, whether it be, that we've believed that all these people have always been there for us. And this is a time where we might find out that some of the people that we thought were so great, including Hollywood and everything else, it is not what you were led to believe. And all this time you spent looking at all these different things in reality were never the truth. So I ask you as a challenge to look deeper and stop watching the news. Shut your TV off. Spend more time with your children. This is an opportunity to get closer with your kids. And take a deeper look at the real truth, not a programmed truth. And the way you find that is through your heart, through weighing everything you receive through the heart, not just up here, through here. That's how we find our truth. And your truth may come out differently than mine, but there is no wrong or right. But we are going through a shift. Physically, pole shift, energetically, pole shift. Don't get crazy. Don't lose it. Stay calm. We can transition through all these changes peacefully. It's okay to march and express your feelings and truths, but do it peacefully. We don't need to get crazy at this time. We don't need to lose our minds over something that maybe we don't have that type of control over how it's going to go. But I do feel there is many benevolent people that have planned out something that will be for our next leap into the quantum world, the next leap into our reality. And that was my dog, just so you know. She always comes down when I'm in the middle of something, but and then likes to scratch, so I apologize. But this is your time. Take it and use it to educate yourself. Find the truth. And I believe they are going to go through a process of disclosure. I think we're very close, and I mentioned that in my previous video. We are very close, and part of that is going to be the light at the end of the tunnel. But you are going to have to get through that dark tunnel for a while till you get to the light. It is, for many, going to be painful, but not to go into fear. We can work together. And if there's a shortage of food, if that's one of the issues, we can grow our own gardens. We can work together as communities. We can do so many things to help each other. We didn't need a system. We are the system. We're the creators. We create everything we experience. They used us to get factories going and build equipment and do this and that. We can do whatever it takes to make it a better world for all of us. And so with that, I'd like to say, have a wonderful day, evening, afternoon, whatever it is, and don't go into fear. Be centered in the heart and have faith. This is a test of your faith in yourself, not in some savior out there, but in you. You are your own salvation. And how you choose to go through this time will be your choice. Anyway, have a great day. Love you. Bye.